Alright, today we are diving into one of the weirdest, raunchiest, and, well, most unexpected stops on Tom Cruise's timeline. Losin' It, 1982. Yeah, before the stunts, the action hero smile, and the jets, Tom Cruise was just a shy teenager on a mission to, well, lose it in Tijuana, Mexico. So let's break down the madness, the moments, and where this performance fits in the evolution of Tom Cruise. Starting from the guy with condoms in his pockets to a guy that's literally running for his life. We are in the third episode of the Tom Cruise series where we look at his career from start to present, and we are reviewing the 1982 movie, Losin' It. So, what the hell is this movie, Losin' It, and why have we never really heard about it? Basically, four teenage boys want to lose their virginity, so they go to Tijuana, Mexico. They are joined by one woman who is hoping to go there for a quick divorce. So, that's the basic summary of the movie. There are so many adventures in this movie, but Tom Cruise is the main attraction. And while I will be reviewing some of the scenes and other characters, we are focused on Tom Cruise for this series. So now that I've given a little brief summary about the movie, let's look at his background for this movie. He was 20 years old in this movie, and it follows his performance in Taps. Now, I personally think he looks older in Taps than he does in this movie. I don't know if it's his commanding aura in Taps or the uniform. I don't know, but I think it's pretty interesting. I know that happens, to some actors, and we see that pretty often. He plays this sensitive and shy character named Woody, and he's on a mission to lose his virginity with his other buddies. And I think it's very telling. He was just 20 years old in this third movie, and he's already this leading character. I know I talked a little bit about that in Taps, but it's pretty interesting because he's the first to appear on screen in this one, and it's his name is in big letters, first one to appear, first name to appear. So I think that's pretty interesting. Looking at the film itself, it was rated 5 out of 10 on IMDb and only at 18% on Rotten Tomatoes. So a little bit more apprehensive going into this one. Features Tom Cruise, of course, Jackie Earle Harley, John Stockwell, John P. Navin Jr., and Shelley Long, who plays the divorcee. It was filmed primarily in Calexico, California, and it was directed by Curtis Hanson. It features friendship, humor, and predicament, so if that is your vibe, stick with me. There are spoilers ahead. I cannot stress that enough. I say it each time, but I will say it every time because I don't want someone to get mad at me. There are spoilers ahead. So, with that being said, let's take a look at the first scene. So, a little bit of background before this scene. We see four guys about to go on a trip to Tijuana, Mexico to lose their virginities. We see Woody, played by Tom Cruise, Dave, played by Jackie Earle Harley, Spider, played by John Stockwell, Wendell, or Wimp as the guys call him, played by John P. Navin Jr., and they are joined by a shop owner's wife who wants to be a divorcee, and she is named Kathy, played by Shelley Long. So in this scene, they're getting ready for the road trip. They stop at a shop, and they see Kathy and her husband fighting with each other, which prompts them to steal from the store. And they take their fight outside, so that's why they think, oh, let's steal from this store. So let's take a look at what Tom Cruise's character Woody does in this situation. So just a quick little snippet there of the scene. They're stealing, they're walking out, and he's the only one that puts money on the register. I think it sets the tone for what kind of guy he is in this group. He's the shy kind of guy, kind of plays by the rules. He puts the money on the counter, so he doesn't want any trouble there. So, once Kathy gets into their car and is on the way out after her fight with her husband, she realizes they stole the food, and Woody actually ends up apologizing. So, it's pretty telling of his character. Let's take a look at the next clip. So this is following the scene that we just saw, and they stop so Kathy can go to the bathroom, and you see a little bit of their personalities come out.
I think I can get into her pants.
Come on, Dave, you don't want to do that.
Why? Why? Because he thinks she's having a nervous breakdown, that's why. So?
So obviously you see that, well, you don't see Spider wants to ditch her, and then Dave says, well, I can get into her pants, and Woody says this. So, Dave is the horniest of the bunch, which you can kind of see over time if you watch the film. Spider doesn't really care about her, and Woody is just a soft, gentle type that we see. So you see these characters kind of come out in these scenes. Let's take a look at the next clip. So fast forwarding a little bit, they do make it to Mexico, and they drop off Kathy to a divorce attorney. They drop off Dave's car in order to get worked on, which they leave Wendell there, or Wimp as they call him, just to oversee everything. And, they go strolling for the ladies. That's why they're there. So they meet some in a strip club, only to find out these are not the actual ladies they're going to end up with. It was kind of a ruse to get them up to the expensive hookers upstairs. So they're disappointed. They thought, oh, we met these beautiful ladies, in the strip club. We thought we were going to go with them. So they're not happy about it, but they're horny teenage boys. So they end up going through with it. They say, Woody, you can pick first, because he was the most apprehensive about it. So he picks the lady that he wants to go with. He awkwardly asks her to go back to the room, and he can't go through with it. So, it's kind of telling that character he's just a little bit shy and awkward, like I've said. So this is the clip afterwards. He's downstairs with Spider at a bar, and Kathy has joined them at this point. She, just wants to talk to them, and Spider tries to hit on her. She rejects him. He does not take that lightly. He starts getting mean. So then Woody stands up for her, and Spider gets mean to him, saying, oh, you just want to get into her pants. That's why you're being nice, blah, blah, blah. But, after what happened, what are you going to do? So this is that scene.
Anyway, after what happened upstairs, I doubt you could do anything if you did get into her pants.
So obviously Woody's embarrassed, and I think Tom Cruise did a good job with conveying that, walking out of the hooker's room and then also talking to Spider. And then they kind of go their separate ways after Kathy shows up, and Spider hits on her and gets rejected, and they have this fight. So, Woody walks out, storms out afterwards, and Kathy follows him out, and then Spider goes his separate way. So all these guys are kind of separating from their group trip. So let's take a look at the next one. So Kathy and Woody are getting closer now. She followed him out of the bar, and they kind of bonded over their failed romance type situations. So we see them go to a motel now that they've bonded so much, and he's kind of been like, oh, would you ever be with a guy like me if you were my age, blah, blah, blah. They have some tequila, start drinking, they go to a motel. So that's this scene of them checking in and being in the motel.
Can I help you?
Yes. We would like a room, please.
So you can see the awkwardness, which is so not like the Tom Cruise that we know. It's pretty interesting to see.
Here we are.
Here we are.
More awkwardness. I mean, we've all had a first time, but it's not like the Tom Cruise we know with all this confidence. So it's interesting to see him as this shy young teenager. And then this pretty much happens. We all know what happens at a motel after some drinks. So, so the confidence that I saw in this scene kind of develop of him looking at her, I think is exactly what the character needed, in the sense that he's this shy guy, and I think he needed to find someone that he connected with in that moment. So it's pretty interesting to see this character development in these few moments. I don't want to take up too much of your time, so let's look at the last clip. So a lot happens in between these moments. Like I said, I don't want to take up too much of your time, and this is focused on Tom Cruise, but basically what happens to the other characters. Spider was pissing people off left and right. He pissed off a cop because he was disrespectful. He pissed off Marines, and he ends up in jail. Woody and Kathy tell the cop, you can have Dave's car if, you let him out. And we have Dave, on the other hand. He was in trouble with some guys because he tried to give Spanish Fly to this girl who ended up being this guy's sister. He thought Spanish Fly would work to horn up the girl and pretty much work, even though people kept telling him it was a myth. So basically, they all come together, and after all their shenanigans, they escape the cop, the people Dave pissed off, and the Marines. So they get out of Mexico, they're at the border, and Kathy can't stop talking about her husband. She saw him in Mexico as they were fleeing, pretty much, and she gets back with him, but before she leaves, she wants to tell Woody goodbye. So that's pretty ballsy, kissing someone in front of your husband. But I mean, him cheating in the first place was why she wanted the divorce and why this whole thing happened, pretty much. So I think it's fair. Woody, you go, man. I mean, ballsy to do that in front of someone's husband, but I think he gained that confidence. He needed that confidence for his character, so you see that over time. Then at the end of the movie, the boys go home. So let's look at my final thoughts and my ratings for this movie. I like to do a rating segment at the end of each video, so I'm rating his performance, the movie itself, and cruisisms that I'm looking out for. So his performance, I would give 8 out of 10 cruise missiles. I think he did a great job conveying that energy of a teenage boy that just needed to lose his virginity, which you have to do for these films. For the film itself, I would give 5 out of 10 cruise missiles just because I think it was a decent movie, but I don't think I would watch it again. And for the cruisisms I'm looking out for, did he run in this movie? Yes, he did. I was a little bit nervous getting towards the end of the movie because the lore is he runs in every movie and I hadn't seen it yet. So as they're escaping, he starts to run and I had the biggest smile on my face because I was like, oh, he actually does run in every movie. So, that's what I'm looking out for. Did he do a stunt? No, he did not. We're so used to seeing him on the side of planes, but this is a movie about losing virginity, so no stunts were performed. If you think of any more, please comment below. I'm interested in looking at more cruisisms. My final thoughts on this movie are I think it was decent and it showed a little bit more of Tom Cruise's abilities. He showed something of an embarrassing teenager and then he turned into this confident teenager, and I think he did a great job with it. I'm excited to see what he has in store for us next. What do you think? Do you think this showed a little bit more of his range? Let me know in the comments below and don't forget to like and subscribe. Next, we will be reviewing the 1983 movie, The Outsiders. 1983 was a little bit busier for Tom Cruise, so stay with us.